one belief eliminated from your brain could change the course of your reality. Would you want that? It's not for everyone, only the brave. Those who want to own their life like the powerful leaders they were born to be. A pivotal moment can change everything. Now, here's the host of Crossroads to Awakening show, Wendy Paquette.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Crossroads to Awakening show. I'm your host, Wendy Paquette. I'm a holographic mind reprogrammer. I help women stuck at a crossroads awaken to their true selves and change the world from where they stand. I believe, as a high-frequency human, you see your life as a direct reflection of the programs that are etched into your brain. And those can easily be shifted when you can see your truth for what it is. So if you want access to your true self, find me on Facebook at the @Crossroads to Awakening show, and let's play. So welcome to episode 11. It's called Because You Exist, Your Birthright is Greatness. So amazing. I love, this came to me, one of my beautiful friends in my community, and I call them friends because I see them more as connected hearts than anything else, said these words, because you exist. And it landed so magically with me in the moment. I believe I said out loud, I'm going to use this as my next upcoming show title because it's so profound. Then as I was going through, I named the show Because You Exist, Your Birthright is Greatness. Your birthright is greatness. I almost want to say that over and over and over until you can actually hear it. Your birthright is greatness because you're here and because you exist. So get that one. Go back and forth on that one for a minute. So as you're listening to this episode from wherever you are in the world, on this planet and beyond, whether you're listening live with us today, you can pop into the chat room and play with us. If you go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com and come and put yourself into the chat room or call in live, we would love that as well. You can call from the United States at 815-880-8255 or from Canada, 613-800-8736. Come play with us and let's talk about your greatness because you have it. You exist, therefore you are here. You are present. You are alive. You are breathing. And you have an inspirational movement going on inside of you that has a lot to say. It has a lot to express, and it has a lot of creativity that gets to come to the world so that you can be on purpose in your life. And I could do a whole show about your purpose, and maybe I'll say a little bit about right now. Because you exist and you are here, what you get to know about your purpose is that you weren't dropped in to, you're a fetus and into your beautiful baby body to grow up into a human to have one single purpose. That is the biggest fallacy I see humans have across the globe. What's my purpose? Who am I? What am I here to do? And I'm fully believe that your purpose is the moment that you're in. It's every moment that you're in, you're on purpose. So whether perhaps it's when you're making lunch for your family or your children, you are on purpose in that moment to make lunch for your family or your children. You're being in joy, you're being creative, you're loving and giving in that space, and that's on purpose. That is your purpose in that moment. And then whatever the next moment comes after that and the next moment after that, every moment is your purpose. Now, in the bigger sense of the matter, you're saying, okay, fine, Wendy, if every moment's your purpose or my purpose, then what about the big purpose? Yeah, of course. It's more like the big vision, right? Because you can be on purpose every single moment, which will add up to your entire life. And inside of that or outside of that, I guess it's both, is your big vision. What are you here for, right? I personally know that inner peace is my true nature of what I'd like to give to the world, what I'd like to be in the world, what I'd like to create, inspire, and generate in the world is inner peace. Because if you know oneness, and if you've been listening to my show before, if you know me at all, oneness is which means everywhere I look, therefore I am. And as I was saying at the beginning of the show, I truly believe that life is a direct reflection of all the programs that are etched into your brain. So what if the program was inner peace? Then you would experience on the outside outer peace, right? Huge, huge epiphany for me when I was determined to experience that. So inner peace is my big vision for myself and for everyone on this planet and beyond. Inside of this big vision of inner peace is my purpose, which is every moment that I'm choosing to be present, whether it's, with my family or anywhere, everywhere. Those moments are particularly special because they birth the next moment and they bake into the next moment everything you bring with it. So that is you exist, therefore you are here with and on purpose inside of your big vision for what you'd like your life to be experienced as. And one of the things I often suggest to humans, and there's 3 secrets to eliminating blocks so that you can access this greatness that's inside of you, your birthright. Accessing the greatness only has 3 simple things, 3 secrets, 3 simple secrets to eliminating blocks to your greatness. And I'm going to go right into those as we go through our show. First things first, what is your emotional guidance system trying to tell you about your greatness? What is your greatness? I mean, perhaps you've not even considered that you have a greatness. And that is what you are here for. That's why you're alive, and that's why you exist. Your own personal greatness. And it's not a selfish thing. I mean, it is the reason why you're standing in this space. You could be in your greatness while you are having a bath. And while you're having a bath, you could have the most amazing bubble bath in relaxation, creating peace inside of you. That is your greatness in that moment, to create the most amazing experience, relaxing, spa-like in your tub. That's your greatness. But what I'm truly speaking about is when you're in this world and you have possibility and you have the access to creativity, which all of us do, which is creation itself, your greatness is the one thing that's the easiest thing that you do every single day. It's the one thing that you be every single day without fail. So that could be, you could be the one person that is the connector in life. You could connect people from all walks of life, seeing their greatness and going, oh yeah, you know what? Kathleen wants to write a book and I have a friend who's a book editor. I'm going to connect those 2 people together, right? I'm seeing a book editor greatness and I'm seeing an author greatness. And pop those 2 people together and you've now created, first of all, a relationship, and second of all, probably a best-selling book, right? So in that moment, my greatness might have been, I'm a connector. I create things to occur in this world here because I exist. So that's just one small example. If you look through your life, how many people have you connected, right? If connection is your greatness, how many people have you connected together so that maybe you are one of those people that connects relationships. What is that called? One of those like, I want to say like, not guardian angel, but almost like Cupid, right? Matchmaker. Yes, thanks, Rhonda. A matchmaker. And you connect humans because you can see their chemistry, and somehow you just know that those people go together like PB and J, right? Perhaps that's your greatness. You'll know because it's something that you do all the time, and you deliberately ignore the fact that it's simple for you, right? So your birthright is greatness, and in that greatness is something that you just naturally do that's easy for you, that sometimes you just assume that everybody else can do, and what you really haven't given yourself credit for is recognizing that they can't, right? It's unique to you. We wouldn't have businesses if we all have the exact same greatnesses. I mean, we wouldn't require anyone else to support us with anything because we would have it nailed. We would have all of it, but we don't. So if you exist and that you exist and therefore you are here, what is your emotional guidance system trying to tell you about your greatness, right? So perhaps I'm going to say greatness, and in the same moment I'm going to say career, or whatever pathway you like to choose inside of your vision that generates money. Because in that space, your emotional guidance system is going to show you what's in the way from having your perception of what that greatness can achieve for you. So let me back it up. 3 secrets to eliminating blocks in your greatness. The first one is to acknowledge that you actually have a greatness, that you are on purpose in this reality because you're here, right? Your birthright is greatness. Because you exist, you are here, therefore you have a greatness. Your greatness is also something that shows up without your having to try, without your having to get brand new education, right? Because it's already your greatness. You just happen to do it naturally, and it's really great. And yes, you can go to school for it. You would only amplify that greatness into the best or most excellent space. So it'd be in excellence beyond excellence, right? If that's even possible in your greatness. But your emotional guidance system is going to point out things that are in front of you that either are working or are not working. And that's a space of possibility where you don't get to judge what's happening. Because oftentimes we're leaning into our greatness, or we're leaning into our life because we exist. We're leaning into life and something's not working. We have been programmed to automatically judge ourselves, to judge that we must not be good enough because it's not working. As though life is that easy, right? Everything, could be ice cream and cookies, and it's that simple. But for some reason, it must be that simple for everyone else and not for us. So something's not working. So we have this beautiful thing called an emotional guidance system that shows up and says, hey, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel good, or this is really, really scratchy like sandpaper. So when that occurs, now, rightfully so, we'll talk about the other side after. When you're having something that shows up as a negative, your emotional guidance system is trying to tell you something. And it's, pay attention to me. Whatever this is, pay attention to me. This is going to show you where your part of your greatness lives. Your greatness, by far, is the ability to be you fully without judgment. Without judgment to situations, without judgment to other people, and certainly without judgment for yourself. So, right into number 1, acknowledging that you have greatness. We spoke all the way through that, and I keep kind of running the same statements all the way through. But when you acknowledge that you have greatness because you exist, just because you were born, having that birthright, waking up into the world, using others around you as your reflectors will show you how you're showing up. So leaning into using your emotional guidance system. What are others being that are close to you that can show you where you have something to look at? So pay attention to me. What are you experiencing that are showing you something that you get to pay attention to? Because oftentimes it's going to highlight or reflect a part of your greatness that you've been ignoring. And that goes right back into buying some lies, right? We'll buy some lies in our life, which I call them lies. They're programs that we run in our minds that are running consistently. If they're lies, they're showing up as emotions that are unmatched to source. So they're causing negative emotions. So going back into pay attention to me, what negative emotion is showing up, and then how can we lean into that and look at it? That is to me being present. Now you're existing. You're existing in your life, and now you're looking at an emotion, you're looking at a situation, and now you're being on purpose because you're present. I feels like I went all over the place, and now I'm going to go back in tight when we come back from the break. So you're listening to the Crossroads to Awakening with Wendy Paquette. I've gone so broad and so wide. I think I've even put myself out there too far, but we're going to tighten it back in. We're going to speak directly into the 3 secrets to eliminating blocks to your greatness. Part of it is I'm so excited for you to see that you have greatness and to know that you are greatness and that it is your birthright, that I want to stand in front of you and point it out to you. And that's not how we find it. So right after this break, we're going to dive right into those 3 blocks, and I'm going to be super clear on what they look like for you so that you can actually step into them today. Thanks, and we'll see you in a short minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the crossroads to awakening.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to the Crossroads to Awakening with Wendy Paquette, and I'm your host, Wendy Paquette. So let's reel it back in, and I'm going to dive right into the 3 secrets to eliminating the blocks to your greatness. And the number one thing that I totally know is true is you get to acknowledge that you have greatness. So earlier, even though it was such a broad spectrum of what's happening, acknowledging that you have greatness is to know that you're present and here and you're alive with it. And how you can see it is look at others' greatness. When you see someone else who is right in their zone of genius, who is being present, who is being loving, and who is so good at what they do, and they're so on purpose, you're seeing their greatness shine like a bright light. If you can spot it, you got it, right? Isn't that the cliche saying, you spot it, you got it? So seeing others' greatness shows you that you, in fact, also have greatness. So the number 2 thing is stop pretending that it doesn't exist. Stop pretending that you don't have a greatness to be in the world. And what I mean by that is oftentimes someone will tell you how great you are at something, and you will flat out shut them down and deny it every second that you get. They'll be like, yes, you're really great at this. And you're like, no, you know what? I just got lucky. Or I had a great day. Or, no, yeah, it's just one of those things. You'll just slough it off as though it's not actually true. And more often than not, people will point it out for you merely because you've sourced that, because you're just not seeing it. And it could be the one thing that generates everything in your world when you're receiving that you are greatness in a way that's beautiful and that's kind and that's loving and that's generous in your space. So number 2 is stop pretending that it doesn't exist, that you don't have a greatness. I'm going to go right into number 3 so that we can just kind of riff off all the other things, because the third thing, which is my most fun, and that's probably why I'm just going to give it away right away, it's pretend that your personal guru is what we'll call your greatness, right? Let's say, okay, now we have accepted that we have greatness. we stop pretending that it doesn't exist. Now we're going to ask a question. Okay, fine, you say, Wendy, if I have a greatness and I am that, asking it as a guru, okay, what does that look like? What it looks like is this. say you're at home and you're working online now, because that's where we work from most often, whether you're working for a big corporation or you're working for yourself, working online is the new normal in this moment. What if you're working and you're stuck? You're just emotionally stuck. You're just having one of those days. You just don't know where to turn. You don't know where to look, and you're not finding any clarity. What if you just pretended for a second that you had this secret little guru in your pocket or on your shoulder, and it is your greatness, right? And they're sitting there. You can name your greatness anything you want. We'll just call it the little guru on your shoulder, and it is your greatness. Ask your greatness, if I could be you today, what would I choose right now in order to allow myself to get out of this mental mess that I'm in and have some clarity? And then pause and wait for a bit of peace to arrive, because you're listening. Sometimes when we stop talking, we start listening. And an idea pops into your head. Just like that. You're in your space of work. You call it work. It could be your home office now. You're having a moment. You're feeling frustrated or irritated or a little bit like misconstrued. You, for a second, humor me and go, okay, my little guru on my shoulder, my zone of genius, my greatness. What would you do if you were me right now? Or if I were you in this moment? How would you behave? And then you pause and you have that moment because you're listening intently for this massively profound answer. And it arrives. Well, I would get up and I'd walk outside and I'd have a nice, beautiful breath of fresh air. And if it was daytime and sunny, I would let that sun just kiss your cheeks just for a moment. And it causes you to go outside, actually, and take a deep breath of oxygen and stand with your face in the sun. And for that moment, you're feeling this beautiful rush of inner peace. Somehow you feel refreshed. You feel calm. You feel peaceful. And for a second, you giggle because that silly little guru on your shoulder knew exactly what you needed in the moment you needed it. And so you go bouncing back inside. You grab a glass of water on your way back to your office. You sit down, and all things look clear. It's just magically lined up for you. Really, all you needed was just a moment to reset. And because in the moment that you weren't able to find that in yourself, just pausing for a moment to give yourself a bit of peace, to ask your little guru, your greatness, what they would do in that moment, gifted you the answer. How amazing is that? That you actually got the answer from your own greatness. Now, how I know this is possible is because back in the day when I did some quantum healing hypnosis therapy, when we would take, I say we, I, and the energies that be, would bring people into really deep state theta hypnosis meditations, we would be able to access the higher self of the human that was on the table and take the questions that they brought to me, and we'd be able to ask them, and they would answer their own questions. The only way that they could answer their own questions consciously was when they were brought to that deep state of theta where they could be an allowance of something other than their mind getting in the way. It was so profound. I was completely astonished most days that people would come in with like 30 and 40 questions, and then they would answer all their questions. They brought the questions to me as though like they just don't have the answer and they need it, and somehow I would have it, but really they had it all along. They just didn't realize it or give themselves that moment. So my suggestion for that third part of it is pretend that your personal guru is your greatness, is be an allowance of who you get to be on this planet because you're here, because you exist. It's more profound than most people will allow themselves to understand. because we don't get this opportunity that we know of any other way. You are the most magical human you will ever run into. When you look in the mirror, you will be the most magical human that you have ever seen because you exist, because you're here, because you're alive. There'll never, ever, ever be anyone that looks like you, behaves like you, acts like you, speaks like you, thinks like you, and exists like you ever again. Not ever before, not ever again. That, my friends, is your birthright to greatness. Add in a couple other things like uniqueness, right? Profound excellence, intellect, so many things that you wouldn't even give yourself the ability to receive. You get to know that because you are profoundly unique. And greatness is a way of being. Greatness is something that you get to stand in your own uniqueness and add all those aspects of yourself into that pot, that soup, and be proud of it. And everywhere you go, people experience you in exactly the way that you allow them to. So when you walk into, let's say nowadays, you walk into a grocery store, and there are so many points of view flying through that, right? They've got to stand outside in line if you're standing 6 feet apart, if you have a mask on, if you don't have a mask on, how long you're going to be in there. If you're traveling with more than one person or shopping with more than one person, then you get inside of the grocery store and you're automatically assessing how many people are in there. Your eyes are notating how many people have masks on. Like, you're automatically kind of self-judging the situation. And then you end up doing your shopping, you're in line, you're standing 6 feet behind someone else, and they happen to look at you, and they have a mask on. And they look at you, and you can see their way of being, their personal existence at that moment, their emotional state of mind, just from their eyes. How magical is that? Just from one's eyes, you could see what they're feeling. And when would you have or take the moment to actually address them? Like, do you not address them because you can't see their mouth? Right? Have you ever had that? Like, I don't know how many of you are like at all shopping where you're looking at them, they're looking at you, and you, because you can't see their mouth or their nose, you can't decide if you're going to say something to them or not. It's so bizarre. When would you ever take the moment just to say, hey, how's it going? Even if you didn't have a mask on and they did, would you say it? Right? If you're bringing your greatest self to that moment and you're just being you, your loving self, do you feel like they would experience you for who you are? Because you're being present, because you're standing in your greatness, you've got your little guru on your shoulder, you've got the answers in your back pocket, and you're wearing your heart on your sleeve. Of course that person's going to experience you with that. They're going to totally see through anything that they thought before you stood in line behind them. And for that very moment, even though you can't see their mouth with a mask on, they will feel seen, completely seen. Don't you find that as greatness? Like, it's a heart-to-heart connection. It's so much love in a moment, right? I almost look at it like the mask has gifted us the ability to read people with our eyes, to truly see them when you look into their eyes and truly experience someone. And what do they say about the eyes? The eyes are the gateway to the soul. So instead of standing in front of someone with a mask on and judging them because they're wearing it or not wearing it, what if you were able to connect with them through the gateway of their soul and see their greatness and see that they are existing just like you and that they get to show up as this beautiful human being right in front of you? There's something really magical about a connection that happens and that occurs without words. Even if you say hello or you don't say hello or what have you, it is magical. Yeah, absolutely. 2 words in one. It's magical and possible altogether. I have no other words for that. I've experienced it, and I get to admit I was so judgy about the masks. I was so judgy. And it wasn't because of what the masks were for. It was because they were hiding people's mouths until I purposely connected with the gateways to the soul through someone's eyes. And I realized that it doesn't have anything to do with the mask. It has something to do with me and my perception of what that is. So as we're moving into a break, my invitation to you is, if you're out today wandering around, look at someone's eyes. Let them know that you see them and their greatness, whether they're trying to show it to you or not, by their mere presence. And connect with them on a level that you've never connected with them before. Because that, my friends, I believe is what we're creating by having this pandemic in our reality. It's a heightened awareness of connection. And that sense of greatness, because you exist, is something everyone has. No one is outside of that. So I'll see you right after the break. We'll come back and talk more into because you exist, your birthright is greatness, because I found something I think you will absolutely love. We'll see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the crossroads to awakening. This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255. Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everybody. We are on our beautiful Because You Exist, episode 11, Your Birthright is Greatness. And, you know, I was looking through all of my notes to find what I had on greatness, because I recall doing many things about it. It came to me quite a few years ago that greatness was a thing. It wasn't a judgment, and it wasn't a putting someone on a pedestal, and it wasn't something that someone had over someone else. Like it wasn't a like you're better than me kind of thing. It was the birthright that we all had by being alive. And I found that I wrote this small little book, and it is literally called Your Greatness. It was so amazing. I couldn't believe I found it. I wrote it October 3rd, 2015. I believe it came out of an inspired moment. It was just quite a magical thing because it's pages and pages long. I mean, it's a small book, obviously. Pages and pages, it might be like 10. But it was all on what's truly possible. And what I noticed, I read through a little part of it before I got on this episode. It literally were words that I channeled through about one's greatness that you could hold in your hand in a book. And I said right in the book, hold it up to your chest and allow the words in the book to permeate you as though you didn't know before, but you do now, that you are greatness. I thought that was pretty flippin' magical in that space. So another thing I found was a quote by Max Lucado. He says, "You are valuable because you exist, not because of what you do or what you have done, simply because you are." Isn't that crazy? Simply because you are. So people have addressed this beautiful expression of humanness that we have, that we call greatness, because we think it's something outside of us. We think that only the rare few possess it. It's almost like, if you look, I watched something on Michael Jordan yesterday and his journey. And one thing that really stood with me was that everyone said he never was fearful of something that was in the future. So what I mean by that is every shot that he took on purpose in order to land it through the basket. And he said, what would make you think that I would want to worry about a shot that I have not even taken yet? I thought that was amazing. If you take his words and apply them to your life, what things can you look at that you realize now that you're worried about that you haven't even stepped into yet? So lean into maybe a new business that you're looking to start. What if your greatness could generate the most beautiful amount of revenue for you in your bank account, that you could be you, live a luxurious life, and support others because you generate from your greatness and it doesn't feel like work? It feels like life, play, and joy. Because your greatness is something that automatically exists inside of you because you were born. It's your birthright. So let's lean into that. Maybe you're starting a business or thinking about it, or maybe you're thinking about leaving your current job because it really wasn't something that brings you joy like you would have imagined being, as a kid, imagining yourself older and in your career. You imagine yourself being joyful and having fun and like killing it in the world, right? What if you're in that space of shifting from your corporate job into potentially opening up your own business, leaning into your greatness? What if you just took the leap, right? You can source out the best coaches and the best business strategists and everyone to teach you all the tactics and techniques and systems that you would need in order to make a business run properly, but you were that magic that caused people to want to spend money with you or on you if you're a coach. And the only thing that's been stopping you, maybe you've been thinking about it for 10 years. Maybe you've been thinking about it for 20. But what if the only thing that's stopping you is not fearing something you've already done and thinking you're going to do it again, but actually you're fearing something you've never done before? And like Michael Jordan said, why would I ever worry about something that a shot that I've never taken in the moment that I'm in? So I liken that to the same thing about creating a business. Why would you worry about creating a business with your greatness, with your awesomeness out in the world? Because if you're being in your greatness and you're joyful, believe me, whatever you're creating is going to have that baked right in. It gives you permission not to worry because you haven't done it yet, which means somehow you would source the funds, if you don't have them already, in order to hire the best people to support you with the tactics and the strategies and the systems in order to make the business run. And it's you, the magical you, that is the ingredients to the business that causes and generates revenue and your joy and your contribution and your generosity in the world. So that's just one example of what's possible when you're standing in your greatness and you're allowing it to be who you be. And there's also other things. So I don't know any of you who potentially have done some personal development. Perhaps you've done some leadership training. I know that I have. And if you have not, I should say, what would stop you from actually leaning into that place where you can have access to more of you? So that's, to me, what leadership is having access to you, more of you in this world. Something that maybe you haven't experienced in yourself before, and you know it's there, and you just don't know how to reach in and pull it forward so that you can then lean into that new business that you've been considering. Because that is the only thing stopping you from doing it, is having a fear of the future. And if the future hasn't been stepped into yet, then your fear is unrealized, right? It's just standing in your way. So moving it out of the way, and my suggestions are leadership, because that's what I've done. And that was the one thing that pulled me right out of the depths of my baby toe where I was hiding and brought me right to the forefront of my beingness. And I find I'm unafraid of anything. There isn't anything that I call forward as source that I would be afraid of, unless I change the word afraid to resistant to, and oftentimes the resistance is to even more greatness, right? Something even grander than you're experiencing already. In which case, what do you think my next moves are when I'm feeling resistance? Yeah, you got it. Like leaning in. Oh, yeah. Resistance, lean in. You're probably thinking, are you freaking nuts? Like, are you crazy? Lean into the resistance, something I'm afraid of? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because you are the greatest you. Your emotional guidance system will guide you in all the directions you're headed on purpose and show you the things that you get to lean into or see. And you know what's possible by looking around from the things. You're sourcing everything for yourself anyway. Right? It's still leaning back into Max's quote. You are valuable because you exist. Not because of what you do or what you have done, but simply because you are. So if you are being on purpose, which is in every moment, focused in that moment, present, like we were speaking of at the beginning, at the top of the show, if you're being present in every moment and you're bringing your full self to the table, and I mean the full self as in your mind, you have to go, I'm present, I'm here, right? I'm creating lunch for my family and I'm loving it. Your mind isn't on what you're going to do next and what you're going to say next to someone else and how you have to do the laundry and how you have to keep on working. You're just really present in the moment going, you know what? I'm feeding my family. I'm so grateful for this food. I'm so grateful that I have the ability to stand here and make lunch for my family. What a blessing. Right? That's on purpose. So I liken that to full presence and on purpose, but when I was speaking to leadership, having access to more of you allows those fears to be eliminated. Because somehow, right, where my little self was hiding in the depths of my baby toe, and I knew it was there, and I didn't know how to pull it all the way forward and connect it to my heart and allow it to shine, I stepped into leadership, personal development, bringing that stuff forward and on purpose. Experiential training will cause you to step in. It'll cause you to be you, and it'll certainly cause you to experience your own greatness and be able to say it out loud with fear that someone's going to judge you. And by someone, I mean you. Because if you're thinking, I'm not going to share my greatness or say it out loud because I will look like XYZ, you know for sure that that's you judging you. It's not someone else judging you. It's certainly just you. So lean in. You have resistances that show up or experiences that show up. You are generating them as source. As your greatness is your birthright, because you exist, you get to look at them and lean in. And if it's something that you're looking at and going, okay, I was considering this before, I absolutely will not do this because now I see I was just in it for the money or whatever that might look like, then you can be honest with yourself and move it aside, right? Put it in the garbage, put it behind you, move it aside, and leave room for what's really behind that to show up. Because oftentimes, people who want to generate money are wanting to make a difference in the world. I should say oftentimes. My prayer would be that every time. You want to generate bazillion dollars, please generate $1 billion, because if your heart's in the right place and you want to be generous and contributory to the world, that's exactly where you get to go with that money. Totally all in. And guess what? You will source it and it will come. If you're being your greatness and standing in your greatest self, being you in a business, you can source someone to support you with all the mechanics. Guess what? The next thing you know, that you're flying across the globe supporting third world countries that are no longer going to be third world countries because of you. So stand in that greatness, whatever it looks like. There's so much more. Breaking the greatness down into categories, you can step into that as well and just write it down on a piece of paper, what greatness looks like to you, what it could equal in your life, or what you could equate it to. But greatness is absolutely your birthright. So we've covered so many things across the map about your greatness, your birthright being greatness, and because you exist. When we come back, maybe there will be somebody on the line that we can play with, because I would love to speak right into what your greatness could be. Perhaps we could discover it. Who knows? Who knows who may show up? But we will see you right after this break.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everybody. You have been listening to the Crossroads to Awakening show with me, Wendy Paquette, a holographic mind reprogrammer who really does go all over the place when she gets deep into the zone of her own genius. So I'm looking here and I got a question. And Rhonda, I so appreciate you. So she's asking, what would you advise someone who's got a belief in place that doesn't support this? Yeah, well, that's oftentimes a conversation with me. That's about all it takes. But being that we're on this call, something you could look into is there's always something underneath of that. Whenever I'm speaking with someone and they often will say that they don't believe it, or they don't get it, or they don't believe it, or they have like strong resistance to it. Not believing something is a strong resistance. And what I was saying earlier is when you have a resistance, if it's a negative resistance, what is it trying to tell you? What is it trying to say? And on the other side of that is when you have resistance, you may very well have the most massive breakthrough on the other side of that resistance because it's showing up. Otherwise, everything would be so easy, right? You would breeze through this life with no resistances whatsoever because everything just is what it is. But when you have a strong resistance to something, especially if you're wanting to say it out loud, you're like, I don't know, I just don't believe it. Why do you believe you would even have the inkling to say that out loud if you weren't searching for a reason why? Or if you weren't hunting for a way to maybe shift your way of thinking, because there might be something in you that would like to believe it. Because this all sounds like, maybe it sounds airy-fairy. Maybe it sounds too easy or too good to be true. And if you're having resistance to it and it feels like there's no flipping way that is actually true, that I have a greatness, that I was born with it, or that anyone does because of some of the terrible things that occur in this world, perhaps there's something there for you, right? Perhaps you actually get to lean into what is it that my emotional guidance system is trying to tell me by providing me with this emotional response, because there's something underneath of that. Oftentimes there's belief systems in place who it causes you to believe that you're not good enough for anything. And all these things generally come from our childhood, things that we bought to be true that actually aren't, right? Things that we decided as a kid that carry all the way through, those programs that I always speak of that can actually be changed. Maybe we've decided we're not good enough. We're not good enough to have greatness. It doesn't matter what anybody says, because clearly when I was a kid, my friends who I thought were friends were so mean to me, telling me that, I'm ugly, or I suck, or I'm stupid, or whatever those things are. Perhaps I bought those, points of view. And so therefore now they're true, and there's just no way that someone like me could be born with greatness, right? Let alone change the world from that space. And I have something to tell you. Those programs can 100% be shifted, because as you see that coming at you in the world, because you bought those points of view, you can also return them. I say that because I liken these points of view in your brain or these mind programs as programs, something that we bought. And I love shopping, so I was liking it to shopping. But if you bought it and it's not working for you, it'd be like buying a dress off the rack, not trying it on, getting home and realizing that it just doesn't fit. It's so damn tight. There's just no way. If I zip it up, I'll rip the zipper. You're going to return that sucker. Or you can keep trying to put it on and judging yourself for being too big for it, right? Whatever that might look like. People will spend their entire lives putting that flippin' dress on and not being able to get it done up and blame yourself for every reason under the sun why it's not fitting. Clearly, I'm not good enough to wear this dress. You know what? I just think that I'm smaller than I am. Maybe it's the color. Maybe it's the place where I bought it. I'm just not good enough, clearly, to wear this dress. Yeah, Rhonda says, burn the dress. Yeah, you're going to make up all these things instead of just going, screw that dress, I'm bringing it back. I'm going to get a different one this time. I'm going to return it, and I'm going to get something that works for me. That's my perception of it. I was gifted the ability to read and see frequency in other humans, and those frequencies, I've tuned myself to actually read the frequency in someone's mind and someone's brain that they're thinking that is actually a block for them, and it's blocking them from accessing their greatness. It's blocking them from accessing their greatest self, their truest self, and actualizing all their dreams and their visions and their inspirations, because that program is in the way. So if I have the ability to actually take that program and transmute it to source energy, then they get to see the world and have the world exactly the way they would like to, because those programs are just that. They're programs. There's something that we bought consciously or unconsciously in the world, not because we were doing it to hurt ourselves, but because we thought they were right for us in the moment, or maybe it was completely unconscious and it just went in. Or maybe we heard it enough times and it just became written in there. And because of that, we bought it, right? Sometimes you hear that often, more than once, and you think, wow, I've heard it more than once, that must be true, and then therefore it's yours. My job as a holographic reprogrammer is to see those programs and transmute them to source energy. Totally return those pieces of bleep, you know what I'm talking about? Return them to the store from where they came and actually replace it with something that works. Not only that it's something that works, it's something that thrives inside of you. It's called source energy. It's how we live in the world. It's our birthright. As an existed human in this world, our birthright is greatness, and because we exist. You're valuable because you exist, not because of what you do or what you have done, but simply because you are. So as I'm wrapping up this show, I realize that there is so much said in this show, and my brain often will go wherever it feels like going. I invite you to come play with me in the Crossroads Academy so we can sort these things out, because we do group things in there that shift frequencies. And I would be delighted if you could come and play in there. And let's access your greatness. And even if you think you don't know what it is, let's figure it out. Let's find it. And let's delete and return all those programs that are in the way. And let's create an inner peace that totally changes the world. Because when you experience inner peace, you will experience outer peace. And so because of that, let's change the world from where we stand. Let's change those programs from what's blocking us to the space of peace where we can all experience it together. One human at a time. My vow to be here is inner peace, to experience outer peace. Thank you so much for listening. My complete gratitude to all of you humans who took the time to listen to this show. I'll see you next week. So much love to you. Mwah.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Crossroads to Awakening radio show. Wendy Paquette will return next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We look forward to you joining us again. Until then, enjoy your journey, and we'll meet you at the crossroads.